right now.
I love Who's Eating Good.
Oh, do you?
Presented
okay,
by
that's
Applebee's. Absolutely.
Served by Applebee's. Served by our
proudly
friends at Applebee's. I'll
Applebee's.
tell you who's eating good and has 2 thumbs. This guy, because I'm eating free thanks to that guy. I'm just saying. Yeah.
We'll get there.
Remember when we bet on our matchup last week?
Yeah, we even now.
What are you talking
We're
about?
even.
We were even before.
We've done this before where we had to look it up.
Man, all right. Penn State, Blake, get on research. I think I'm 1 meal up on Lawrence here. This is outrageous.
There's a lot going on in that league. I bet down in Mexico on the weekend. I believe down in
But you know what though? I
branding.
seen them rosters and still said let's bet, knowing damn well I had Braxton Berrios.
You're pretty big up in that league.
But
You're pretty beat up in that league.
that's
It's a deep
fantasy
league.
for you.
It's a pretty deep league, and we're all right, we'll look at that in a right. Am I out of order? I'm sorry. I'm all
Yeah,
over the
you did the
place.
last one first. It's fine. It's nothing
fine.
we're not accustomed to. All
right,
right, number 1 on Who's Eating Good here, Breece Hall versus the Eagles, and Breece absolutely had the buffet against the Broncos, where he simply
what you did there.
went nuts. Career high, 25 touches in Denver. Robert Saleh has come out and said they're not limiting his workload going forward. He obviously had nearly 200 yards on the ground. So, Lawrence, I'll tee you up here first on this one. The Eagles are a totally different beast than the Denver Broncos run defense, or what we call that a run defense. Do you think Breece can maybe not keep up 177 yards on the ground, but remain an RB1?
Yeah, well, definitely. He's coming off a game with 25 touches. So if you're telling me he's going to get 20 touches against the top Eagles rush defense, then you still got to go for that. Last week, this time, Breece Hall was like a flex play. And we said, hey, we all said, get him now before he gets hot. Well, now he burning hot. He hot as hell right now after 194 yards from scrimmage. So, but this is the thing, though. They face the Eagles this week. But after the bye week, they get the Giants, the Chargers, and the Raiders. Oof. So those are matchups. He going to go back to the buffet. So we like him. You know, you still obviously going to start him this week, but you're really going to be loving it after that.
Yep, hit 21.5 miles per hour on that touchdown run, which is the fastest speed that anyone not named Hill, Mostert, or Achane has hit this season. So that tells me that he's all the way back in terms of his peak capacity from that ACL. And I just wonder if Breece Hall, like, we think of running backs so much as kind of they're a product of their context, right? If you've got a great offensive line, that's half the battle. I wonder if Breece Hall is so talented that he can just overcome the Jets' banged-up offensive line and Zach Wilson, the way that Jonathan Taylor did in 2021 with Carson Wentz as his quarterback and a meh offensive line. Breece Hall might just be so explosive that he can put up numbers even if he's up against it with his team.
That's the thing. I mean, obviously it's a different running back, but I kind of feel like there's a little bit of Ken Walker in there in the sense that, like, he may get 20 touches and 18 of them may go for like 2.4 yards, but then one goes for 70.
Right. Yes.
I mean, like, he's just a guy that I think is, because he's their best chance at scoring against Philadelphia, he's going to get a massive volume. I'm at running back 18 this week. I think you have to start him. Certainly lower expectations against him against Philadelphia versus Denver, but yeah, I'm starting him this week.
Use him in short passing game too.
Yeah, they
he
have
had
to.
3 catches. He didn't need to do that this game because he ran all over the Broncos. But that could be another way to get on the football.
Yeah, and they're living up to what they're saying about Breece. There was only 10 offensive snaps of 62 for Dalvin Cook in this game. Dalvin Cook is an afterthought in this offense.
Do you think if Zach Wilson has a bad game, it's definitely his job after the bye? It felt like he kind of kept everyone at bay with that performance against Kansas City, but he was bad last week again.
I think it'll depend going into the bye what their options are. I don't think they're excited about the idea of Trevor Siemian being elevated.
I'm not excited
But
about
if there's
that.
somebody that's looking to unload a backup quarterback, a viable backup quarterback during the bye, that they can get them in there.
Or
and
a
get them
starting quarterback that just lost the number 1 wide receiver for 4 weeks.
Mr. Cousins?
His was 1 and 4.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's a big game for Zach Wilson against a brutal opponent.
Yeah.
All right, our next one here, Gabe Davis against the Giants. Everybody's been feasting against the Giants. Basically, every appetizer and more has been there if you're playing that defense. Gabe Davis against the Jaguars. Here's the big thing right now, Jay. He's catching a lot of touchdowns, and we know that's the story with Gabe Davis. He can be touchdown dependent, but he is catching all of the touchdowns right now, which kind of gives you a lot of hope for him going forward.
He is. It's nice with Gabe Davis because he has 2 dependencies, not one, because he's dependent on touchdowns and long passes. And if he's just giving you one of those 2, then he can provide value. The main thing with him is that he just looks healthy. He looks way more explosive than he did last year, where he's coming off the ankle sprain in week 2. So I think Gabe Davis is very underrated. I think he's a viable, high-end wide receiver 3, Matthew, that type of player.
Yeah, obviously, listen, he's touchdown dependent, but he's been scoring touchdowns. He's the only wide receiver to have 4 consecutive games with a score, 2 different games with at least 90 receiving yards and a touchdown. He's the number 2 wide receiver on one of the better offenses in the NFL with one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Giants, by the way, you like this matchup. As the Giants are tied for the 3rd most touchdowns allowed to opposing wide receivers. And so, again, it's the Gabe Davis experience. You either have to start him all the time or never start him. He's more touchdown dependent than most wide receivers, but again, because of the red zone and end zone looks, because of the offense, the quarterback he plays with, more often than not, especially this year, it feels like he's going to score. You like his chances on Sunday night against the Giants, by the way. Another reason to tune in for Sunday Night Football on Peacock and NBC.
One of the many reasons.
One of the many
see if
reasons.
Gabe Davis will get that touchdown.
Yeah.
It would be 5 straight games.
You can bet an anytime touchdown on DraftKings and using the promo code Barry.
There you go. There you go.
That should give us a boost.
Definitely.
Use your
I'm
power.
going to work on that. I'm going to call Mr. King and say,
He's
can
actually
Mr. King.
Mr. King.
As opposed to Mr. Robbins.
Yeah, no. Mr. King. DraftKings is named after Mr. King. Yeah,
I thought it was Mr. Kings, but that's fine.
Mr. Kings.
Yeah.
It's fine.
King,
There's a bunch of Kings. And they draft.
Because of those
draft.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's actually wide receiver 19 on a points per game basis. That's a little higher than we rank him every week.
Sure.
I'll start him every week if they playing the Giants. Give me that. Gabe Davis is the type of receiver. It don't really matter what the matchup is. It doesn't matter who the team is. It's like, is he gonna catch this long touchdown? And that's what he's been doing so far.
I mean, but literally that is the question. Is he going to catch a touchdown? Because, again, he's got an under 16% target share so far this year. He's had 3 or fewer receptions in 3 of 5 games this week. The game against Jacksonville, he got bailed. I mean, he was doing nothing all game. At the very end of the game, caught a long ball and got into the end zone and sort of bailed you out in terms of your fantasy day. So, again, that's the Gabe Davis experience. Again, it's not a high-volume game for him usually. It is, will he score a touchdown or not? And so that's just basically, but again, you can't guess when it's going to be a touchdown game. To your point, Lawrence, it's like you can't sit and go like, he'll score one this week. I don't think this week. You either always start him or you never start him.
Like the blackjack thing. You always hit on, what
always
is it, 16?
right. You're always right. You either always hit on 16 or never hit on 16.
Yeah.
Right?
I would buy stock in Gabe Davis. The other thing that I think helps him, Bills have the hardest remaining schedule in football. Like, they just play like the Chiefs and the Eagles and the Cowboys every week, which I think helps because they're not going to be 14-point favorites like this week that much. They're going to be in close games. They're going to have to throw, and Davis will benefit.
All right, our last one here, as promised, 12 minutes on Desmond Ritter. Lawrence,
you only got
15 seconds of the 12 minutes. So Desmond Ritter coming off with the best game of his young career.
The only 2 people in this world that love Desmond Ritter the most, Mama Ritter and Lawrence Jackson Jr. Go ahead.
And for good reason.
And we couldn't get Mama Ritter on the show. We tried.
But we should try harder next week after he unloads on the Washington Commanders. Top 5 quarterback in fantasy in week 5. That's cool. Versus a middling Texans defense. Not the best defense, but certainly not the worst defense as they were in the past. Now, the thing about this is like,
really awesome pass to Bijan Robinson in close space, too.
Great.
One-handed behind the back catch.
Just hits him in space. What a great play by Desmond Ritter.
Jamal Crawford around the back.
Hey, we get it how we live. He got his 2nd rushing touchdown of the season there. And the thing interesting about this game is they didn't run the ball good. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier combined for 31 carries and 86 yards. So they won the game on the arm that they tried to hide with 37 passing attempts of Desmond Ritter. But can we start him in Superflex going forward? I don't know. Maybe versus the Commanders, who had a 25th worst defense in the league. Tampa Bay, Tennessee, Minnesota, Arizona. Those are some of the guys. Those are some of the teams that he'll face coming up here.
Look, all jokes aside about Desmond Ritter, he has definitely played better at home than he has on the road. This game is at home. My Commanders are awful on defense. I mean, they're the 2nd worst scoring defense in the NFL this year. They've allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. I have Ritter at QB 21, so I'm just kind of as a low-end QB 2. He is viable in a super flex or 2 QB league. if you need one, especially if you're sitting there and you were starting.
I need him in our league.
No, what does it mean? Like if you had Jordan Love or Kenny Pickett on a bye, or you had Richardson and you missed out on Minshew on the waivers or whatever. You need a quarterback. Deshaun Watson might not be playing. You feel better about Ritter than you do about P.J. Walker against the Niners, that kind of thing. Daniel Jones. Daboll said he just came out like literally while we were talking. He's not going to practice today, Daniel Jones. So that's not ideal. Right.
Physical and mental rest.
Right, exactly. I mean, so there's scenarios in which you might want to use Desmond Ritter this week. I will say he has at least 30 pass attempts in every game since week 1. He's coming off a 300-yard game. It's a good matchup. And I still don't think he's very good. But do I think he is, if you squint your eyes and think about it this week at home against Washington, do I think he's usable? I do, Lawrence. I do.
Yeah, I will say as well, his stats were very impressive against the Texans.
Here we go.
No. This is pro Ritter. He was as good as his stats. He was magnificent in that game. He made great throws. These weren't just dump-offs to Bijan and Yak creating his line. He played really well. Quietly, as bad as he's been, he's still QB 19 on the season. And he showed that, he can service his weapons. And they have weapons on that team. Drake London's really good. Kyle Pitts sprung back to life. Jonnu Smith is a thing. And
they
Bijan,
just traded for Van Jefferson.
Yeah.
More people.
Just for him.
I just like the fact that, on a team that never passes, they've got more competition for Kyle Pitts and Drake London to get targets. I'm not ready to say, yes, we'll get into rankings and everything tomorrow and Friday, and we'll talk about whether you can trust Kyle Pitts and Drake London again. But I would feel better about those two guys this week at home against Washington than I normally would.
I like the Falcons minus 2.5 in that game as well.
That's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah. I mean, you learned your lesson after last week, huh?
This is a true story. We were on a group text, all of us, and the producers of the show. And we were like, oh, hey, Lawrence versus Matthew. I'm like, but we're both rooting for Atlanta. At this point, I want a draft pick. We're not going anywhere this year. Our team's terrible. I want a clean sweep of. I want a new coaching staff next year, and I want to start fresh and with a good draft pick. All right, so this is me versus Lawrence. I'm on the right. It's going very quickly without our team names here. I don't know who put this together. But I'll just, here's our benches. As you can see, Desmond Ritter on Lawrence's bench. He didn't even believe in his own guy. Now, he's been beat up. You beat up yet. You didn't have Aaron Jones. You beat Michael Smith to Keaton Mitchell, hasn't been activated yet. But whatever. I didn't have my ride or die. I'm on Ross St. Brown.
I wasn't winning this anyway.
Yeah.
There's nobody on my bench.
Can you go back to the starting lineups very quickly? There, Adam.
No,
my high score was my high score for that week was Curtis Samuel.
Yeah,
over Lamar Jackson, over Anthony Richardson. He got hurt, but he was easily my best scorer that week.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I have
shout out to Curtis Samuel.
I have Dave Montgomery and Mostert in that league. I have Jalen Hurts. I have CeeDee Lamb, my buddy 8. I got him there.
Sam Howell too.
I had Sam Howell, who, as you saw, future Hall of Famer Sam Howell was the 7th best quarterback
Empty
in fantasy
calorie,
last
Sam
week.
Howell.
So whatever, they all count.
You're right, exactly.
I believe I have Hawkinson in that league as well as my tight end. So it's a pretty good team. In fact, can we show it one more time, just real quickly? Show it one more time because I'm going to make one last point. There you go. There, how Tank Dell I've got. Jordan Addison. He just got, I got CeeDee Lamb, Dameon Pierce as well. That's Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown. This is a team. It put up 100 and I go put up 162.
Yeah.
Put up 162.
How much I put up?
193.
You put up 93. Yeah. So a 70-point win. Like I Miami golfing you, but 162 with Amon-Ra St. Brown on my bench. I just want to point out that's a team that Yahoo gave me a D after I drafted it. So thank you. In your face, Yahoo.
Let's go to break.
And yours as well. But in
Why
your
we
face,
don't ever show the
Yahoo.
guillotine league teams, right? We do that too. Why we don't show that team?
You have a good team in that league.
Come on, guys.
As do I.
Yeah.
As do I.
I'm just surviving. I've been the law.
I'm hurt. I need to make me a trade.
Yeah.
I'll take Devon A-Chain right now.
Yeah, that's oh boy.
The problem is you don't want him in guillotine at the moment.
No, you don't in guillotine. Although there's a lot. Alexa got eliminated this week, and there's a lot. She had a lot of good players on her team. So
I need 'em.
The waiver wire will be interesting later today. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.